lecture will be about 20-25 minutes. In a nutshell, this is basically an email conversation that I've had with a guy called Lorenzo Walker, who is the documenter of Alan Capro's seminal happenings from the 60s and 70s. And basically I got in touch with him just to kind of understand a little bit more his relationship between the kind of authorship of these photographs and how he dealt with the documentation of happenings, which are kind of inherently ephemeral, in lieu of also Alan Capro's death in 2006. So it was just to kind of get an idea and also kind of insert some of my work into his and get some feedback from him in a kind of like informal way. So I mean, the performance is quite light. It's just me reading his emails. If you guys have an idea of what Gmail looks like, you'll know the format already. So this is it. All right, here goes. Dear Mr. Walker, I'm contacting you in order to get some information on Mr. Alan Capro. I've become interested in his work and was looking for information from someone that would have known him personally. Please let me know if you can be of any help. Sincerely, Ryan Rivadeneyra. Dear Ryan, I'm not too sure I could be of much help, but send me anything you want and I'll see if I can get around to looking at it. I'm kind of busy these days, but send me some questions and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Is this for like a school project or something? Best, Lorenzo. Dear Lorenzo, thanks for the prompt reply. Yeah, it's kind of like a school project. I'm preparing a lecture on Alan Capro for this thing in Budapest next month. It's like an art thing I have. There's this lecture night that has something to do with performance and lectures about performance, I think. And they asked me to do a little something for them. For some reason I started thinking about photographers that document performances and happenings and stuff. Like you. So here we are. I just wanted to send you a few questions about Capro and the way you dealt with documenting and experiencing his work to see if I could throw something together. Let me know what you think. Best, Ryan. Dear Ryan, art thing? Best, Lorenzo. Hi, Lorenzo. Yeah, it's some sort of art thing. Don't worry about it. Okay, well, I wanted to start with this image. It's from a piece Capro did with his students in California. I'm sure you're familiar. There are a handful of students spreading raspberry jam with their tongues on what looks like an old Volkswagen Beetle out in some field somewhere. It's real hippie shit, totally 70s or 60s or 50s or whatever. First of all, how did Capro get his students to do this? What did he say to convince them? Did he tell them that there would be a photographer taking their picture while they did it? That the photo could possibly go into history as one of his iconic images? Did they just do it for the picture? Or was the photograph coincidental? And they actually licked that whole thing? Did you lick? What is the relationship between the participants, the kids themselves? Was there some sort of weird teenage sexual tension throughout the happening? It seems like there would be, right? Thanks, Ryan. Hi, Ryan, I really don't know. Honestly, I think Capro just really liked the smell of raspberry jam. He did things intuitively like that. Smell is the most sensitive sense. It's the sense that immediately connects you with the most specific events. When you smell something that reminds you of a place, it's like you're actually in that place. To smell a familiar smell is a much more vivid experience than to see an image of a familiar place. Smell beats sight, so a smell will beat a photo any day. Capro wanted to embed this smell in these kids' memories, to traumatize them. So whenever they would eat a raspberry jam toast, they would think about it, about him, and maybe a Volkswagen Beetle. I was the one who took that picture. To make it clear, I was not participating in the event, but thanks to me the event exists. I suppose this whole hullabaloo could just be a text piece, right? One could just write down on a blank sheet of A4 typing paper something like 6 young adults licking raspberry jam off the hood of a Volkswagen Beetle. And voila, you have a piece. That would be pretty funny, but it's not really the piece. It's just a possibility of a piece. The photograph justifies the piece. The photograph, in this case, ends up becoming the piece. This is all we need to know exactly what happened there. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Right. Text pieces are dumb anyways. Generally, artists that do text-based works are either egomaniacs or insecure and paranoid. Don't you think so? So me, the photographer, I'm the one who makes the piece a piece. Or at least a piece of exposed emulsion-covered plastic. I'm the maker and baker and eater of my own piece of pie. So I guess the equation would be something like this. Smell is greater than photography, which is greater than text. And there you go. Best, Lorenzo. Hi, Lorenzo. Hold on. So are you saying that photography is what justifies art making? Holy shit. Regards, Ryan. Hi, Ryan. Well, no, not all art, just performance art. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. This whole thing can compare to the cartoon of the coyote and the roadrunner. Capra loved the coyote. He really related to him. The coyote is the most human figure anybody had ever come up with. He always loses, no matter how hard he tries. But the coyote is also kind of like performance, and the roadrunner is photography. Coyote equals performance, roadrunner equals photography. No matter what the coyote does, he never catches up with the roadrunner. No matter how much we want him to catch him, no matter how much we relate to the coyote, we really want him to succeed. He just won't. The roadrunner will always be faster and better. Probably not as clever, the coyote's pretty clever, but definitely faster. In the end, it's the roadrunner that justifies the coyote's existence. If the roadrunner weren't there, the coyote wouldn't be there either. If roadrunner couldn't get away, coyote wouldn't have any reasons to ponder out some incredible plan that will always fail. Coyote always fails, and he has roadrunner to thank for that. Best, Lorenzo. Hi, Lorenzo, cute. I'm still trying to understand the way you distinguish between something being a photograph and something being a performance or happening. Can you please explain that a bit? I think this is what my school project is going to be about. Kind regards, Ryan. Hi, Ryan. You probably will never really get it. In order to understand this art stuff and make these distinctions, you just gotta feel it. If you question it, you probably just don't get it. So I suggest you read some books before you do this project of yours. To put it down in simple person terms, it goes something like this. It's performance when the artist is in the frame. It's photography when the artist isn't in the frame. And there you have it. Lorenzo. Hi, Lorenzo. Okay, I guess I'm starting to understand it. I'm learning how to distinguish things. Sometimes images aren't photography. Sometimes just being there and being alive isn't performance. And sometimes when something is happening, it isn't happening. I'm sure there are a lot of people who can say when something is something and when something is nothing. And from my understanding, what you're saying is that most of the time, something is nothing. But wouldn't Capro say that something is always something? This is so hard. So I've been trying to distinguish between something and nothing, between photography and performance, and I came across these three images. Can you tell me if these are photos or parts of performances? Maybe even happenings? The first one shows a documentation of an event, something that definitely happened, a symbolic action that had repercussions. The second seems to be an action created mainly so the photo can be taken, and is made in order to be documented. And finally, the last one shows the performer inside the frame, participating in the event just for the photo. Is it then performance? Thanks, Ryan. Dear Ryan, not sure. I guess Capra did a lot of things to try and get away from making art, to just try and have some kind of holistic experience, to feel like he was doing something all the time. But it all ended up being art again. He couldn't just get away from art making. Once he thought about it, it was enough to be a piece. Sometimes Alan and I would walk around the city, goofing around. He'd tell me to bring my camera, and we'd document the most subtle interactions, where the only audience members were me and him. It was quite romantic. Here are some of those photos, with certain things he would do. He would go on the public bus and stay there for several hours at a time, just riding around the city. He would put headphones on and sing really loud in the street, even though he wasn't listening to any music. He would get really close to people that were sick and try and catch their cold just to make some sort of intimate connection with them. He would set his email to the out-of-office auto-reply every once in a while so people would think he was doing things. He would dial the phone at random. When someone picked up, he wouldn't say anything and only listen. He would walk around the city wearing a basketball uniform and bouncing a ball, but never really actually played basketball. He would go to wine tasting parties and pretend that he knew a lot about wine just to get some free wine. He would watch the entire Summer Olympics on TV without missing a single tournament while hanging out with the bros. He would walk into restaurants 5 minutes before they closed and order dinner. He would pretend to talk on his mobile phone extremely loud while waiting at the dentist's office. He would make funny drawings and write love letters on his voting slip on election days. He had brought a guitar only to learn how to play Stairway to Heaven and Redemption Song so he could be that old guy that hangs out with teenagers after school. He would go to full moon drum circles. He would speak way too loud in movie theaters. He would exercise only one side of his body. He would stand oddly close to people when speaking to them. He would put his alarm clock at 4 in the morning just to have the pleasure to turn it off and know that he can sleep for 4 more hours. He would text message while driving on the highway. He would do all these things and more, at least just say he did them without actually doing them. Regards, L. Dear Lorenzo, I decided to try it myself, to just consider things as happenings and have them be happenings. Doing things and letting things happen. I guess it's like conducting an orchestra without actually doing anything that requires any talent or anything. Here are a few things that I did. Chew some gum and blow bubbles in the street, kind of like having a little sculpture on my face. Do the same in private, to try and deal with public-private things or something like that. Rub oil over my body and get a tan on my rooftop terrace. The color of my skin will be a painting palette, and nature would be the artist. Start an applause in an airplane when landing. Start the wave at a stadium at a sporting event, coordinating the largest interactive sculpture to ever exist. Make little drip sand castles all over my body at the beach. This is body art. Wave goodbye to landing airplanes at the airport. Make a recreation of Capro's fluids using homemade ice cubes. Sebiam, best rhyme. Dear Rhyme, you got it all wrong. Capro would have said this is definitely more something than it is nothing. There has to be more of a convergence between art and life. But not like you're this King Midas guy that anything you fucking touch is some kind of beautiful poetic experience for you and for others. And you're so great and yada yada yada. It's more like a striving for nothing or something. Everything is just what it is, and you need to think about everything a little more than you normally do. And not to excuse me, and not do so much as you normally would do if you tried to do everything. You know that Wendy's Where's the Beef commercial? That's how it should be. Hey Lorenzo. Okay. So if life and art must be intertwined, what about death and art? There's that artist Ray Johnson, you know, the mail art guy, who claimed to live his life in the spirit of Dada. At 67 years old, while living in some boring town in Long Island, just making collages and sending them to people. Sounds like something my grandma would do. He decided to one day jump off a bridge into the ocean and backstroke out to sea in the sunset. What a beautiful way to die, right? Some couple walking their dog found his body the next morning as it rolled onto the shore, which is too bad for him because it makes everything a lot less romantic. Or more? Do you think the dog got all excited and licked his face when his body was just lying there? Is this last final poetic action kind of like a performance? Like he was giving his body to the sea, like he gave his mail art to the mailman at the post office? Was he the ultimate Dadaist? Was that the ultimate performance? This makes me sad, but I'm not sure if I should be sad. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this. Warm regards, Ryan. Hey, I think it was a performance. It's definitely something. I don't know why he did it. It seems that yes, it could have been in the spirit of Dada. But again, what does in the spirit of Dada mean anyways? Couldn't that be practically anything? You can take absolutely any news article from the past week and claim that it was written in the spirit of Dada. If you add the phrase in the spirit of Dada to something, it kind of makes things make more sense rather than less. Here are some articles from today's newspaper. Out of jail, back to journalism in the spirit of Dada. Kim turns to America to foil China in the spirit of Dada. Facebook data left unsecured in the spirit of Dada. An Afghan city on the brink in the spirit of Dada. 3 Americans are released from North Korea in the spirit of Dada. Fake news bots flood Mexican election field in the spirit of Dada. Putting down phones and picking up marks in the spirit of Dada. Feud with labor intensifies in France in the spirit of Dada. Democracies break down in the spirit of Dada. You see? Best Lorenzo. Hi Lorenzo. Yeah, I see. So I tried out some things, kind of like you. I'm trying to make art making easier and funner. To be okay with things making no sense. To not have a reason for anything. To make work that makes me less stressed out about things instead of more. I decided to make some little pyramid sculptures using food and take some photos of them. That way you can eat the sculptures after. Kind of like the killing 2 birds with 1 stone thing. And then looked online for some nice backdrops to go with them. Something that made sense, where a pyramid and backdrop fit perfectly well with each other in some sort of weird way. The first one was a beautiful green avocado, which I placed in outer space. The second one, a pyramid of tiny little colored cotton balls, placed on top of the beautiful Alps. Then a pyramid of aluminum foil, surrounded by a slice of fat, thick, bloody meat. The red was so beautiful that I made one out of chewing gum, of course, surrounded by a head of blonde hair. After the gum, a chocolate step pyramid. Similar to the first pyramid constructed by the Egyptians, the step pyramid of Djoser. But this time, instead of being in the dry and desolate desert, I placed it between green marine algae. Next, a blue sponge surrounded by giant magenta crystals. This one really makes sense since the sponge is almost like a crystal in itself. I'm sure they share certain characteristics, like maybe something to do with fractals or something. A pair of broken bricks lying upon a large lake. A teepee of tangerines mounted on a field of frozen ice water that resembles a marble tabletop. A mountain of mustard melting upon a volcano of vomiting hot magma. Some sticks stacked upon a close-up of scaly skin. A baby blue paper pyramid surrounded by stalactites and stalagmites. Triangular potato chips stacked in a giant triangle upon a beautiful romantic sunset. A tower of delicious, soft, smelly cheese placed among a pattern of hard gray rock. Dark black licorice candy upon another frozen landscape. And finally, another step pyramid made from pieces of boiled red beetroot among some dry desert dunes. This also reminds me of Djoser. What do you think? Best rhyme. Dear Rhyme, nice photos, but my suggestion is that if you want to be less stressed about things, you just need to go bigger and more extravagant, or do nothing at all. Like that old saying goes, make it bigger and make it redder. It will sell much better. Or just do something about identity or something. You can't go wrong with that, because nobody can tell you how you should feel if they're not from where you're from. You're from Miami, right? That's a pretty fucked up place. Work with that. Best, Lorenzo. Hey Lorenzo, thanks for the advice. I wanted to continue with these food and drink still lifes, but also decided to work with the Miami thing. Since it's such a screwed up place, I figured I could try to benefit from it, at least superficially, like with the colors and stereotypes that the city seems to portray. So here's another list of some corny, colorful still lifes with foodstuffs and things. A fake cocktail, some cheeses and flan and coffee, a disco ball and a painting, a donut on a stick, some styrofoam and a replica of that skull from that one Holbein painting, some sliced meat and cranberry juice, some Cheetos and a cigarette, a sculpture made from a Dürer etching, and again with the cotton balls, a lemon and a nut and a bolt, an overflowing cup of tea alongside a nice piece of wood I found, some weird blue porcelain fruit bowl thing with a euro coin, some real pizza and some fake pizza, a replica of that Niemeyer staircase from Brasilia, some mussels and petanque balls, and finally a postcard of a cave placed on a background of a beach with the tip of a penis leaning from the right. Do you think these could be more than just colorful still lifes? That we can possibly consider the moment of creation something like a happening? Eagerly awaiting your comments on these. Ryan. Dear Ryan, no. I think those are just corny, colorful still lifes, and that's it. But Capro did use a lot of food in his happenings, just so you can get a better idea of how he went about narrating a possible happening. Here's a transcript from Capro's How to Make It Happening. Naked women eat giant bowls of Cheerios and milk atop a mountain of used tires. Children disgorge barrels of whitewash over the mountain. 100 yards away, men and women, swimmers, and brightly colored plastic pools continually leap out of the water to catch with their mouths with rubber gaskets festooned with lifesaver candies that hang from chains of men's belts. The mountain is taken down, tire by tire, and moved into the pools, and the water spills out. The children tie the adults together with the belts. They pour whitewash over the now still heaps of bodies. Then they buckle dozens of more of the belts down their necks, waists, and legs. They take the remaining lifesavers to a factory fresh tire shop and offer them for sale in laughy voices. Maybe this could sound kind of like what's going on in your photos, but as you see, there are no photos involved. Have you seen the movie The Happening by M. Night Shyamalan? He's the director that also did The Sixth Sense, starring Bruce Willis and that kid. If you haven't seen The Happening, you should. It's about nature It's about nature getting back at humans and making everyone kill themselves and each other. The best thing about it is that it's filled with beautiful shots of plants and trees and bushes and the wind passing through them in a dark, ominous way. They really make the most out of absolutely nothing. Best, Lorenzo. Has anybody seen that movie? The Happening? Whatever. I'm not going to play the trailer because it's really crappy, but you should. Hi, Lorenzo. Okay, next exercise. This time I'll do even less. I decided to carry a baguette around. When people are walking down the street with a baguette in their hand, they are promoting a sense of comfort. You know that these people aren't going to work or to catch a train or anything like that. These people are on their way home to sit down and eat the baguette. The baguette is a special companion for a nice walk home. It shows the world that you're done for the day. That's why I decided to carry around this baguette all day, to have a companion and portray a sense of comfort with my companion and the world that surrounds us. So I'm on my way home from carrying this baguette around town, and I'm pretty hungry. I pass by this bakery where I bought it, and buy a second baguette to make a sandwich, or have some toast or something. I'm already starting to look at baguettes differently, like a person, like a lover. So I get into my kitchen with baguette number 2. I pull off its wrapper, exposing its naked, crusty body. I put it on a cutting board so I don't damage the surface of my kitchen counter. I then place baguette number 1 right next to it, so it's just there with me by my side, and by its colleague's side, so it can see what's about to happen. I pull out my favorite bread knife that came in the pack of 4 knives that you get at IKEA, cheap ones. I cut baguette number 2 in half. I separate the 2 pieces and set half baguette number 2 aside for later. I then cut baguette number 2 along its side and all around. I gut out its insides, which I generally tossed. The crust is the best part. Baguette number 1 is there the whole time, completely shocked at what is taking place. I take out some butter and spread it on. I pour a generous amount of honey on it. I then proceed to eat it. First the first half, then the second half. Until I'm done, and only the crumbs remain. I think about baguette number 1 for it, and then go take a nap. Talk later, Ryan. Dear Ryan, you can do even less than that. Aim lower. It won't work for you anyways. Happenings are a thing of the past. You can't just make happenings in a post-9/11, internet-y, social network-y, Photoshop-y, green screen-y, 3D render-y, 21st century-y world. Pretend that the last decade never happened. Capra 2 eventually quit art because he was so immersed in his practice that his practice became nothing. It all became some kind of strange meta-pseudo-non-art science project for him. Watching a movie was art, daydreaming was art, making love was art, having a family was art, owning property was art. It evolved to include those things that your body does that you don't control, but that happen anyways. Your heart beating, your hair and nails growing, your eyes blinking, your body sweating, getting hungry, falling asleep. It stops being a happening once you have some kind of excuse, once you're self-conscious. There should be no reason to present it and no reason to document it. So I suggest you quit while you're ahead. Happenings are sad once you realize they are almost impossible to make. With their narration and documentation comes their demise. So this will be my last email to you. I don't think I could be of any further help. Good luck with your school project. Warm regards, Lorenzo. And that's it. Yeah, that's it.